we are Group 22, and our topic is the impact of information technology in developing countries. Our position is that IT is not necessarily making the life of people in developing countries better. Of course, information technology is important in this increasingly globalized and connected world. However, due to various reasons, they are not making the life of people better in developing countries. The exponential development in information technology has opened doors to crime method the world has never seen before. And in the following video, we are going to talk more about the different negative impact on developing countries brought by IT. Our topics will include: firstly, identity theft and fraud. Secondly, fake news and its effect. And thirdly, cyberbullying. First, let's talk about fraud and identity theft. People's unfamiliarity with technology make fraud a lot easier in developing countries. Of course, there are countermeasures to minimize fraud, and those countermeasures are already widely implemented in developed countries. However, those countermeasures are lacking in developing markets, and hence minimizing fraud is often more challenging in developing countries. And we're going to talk about those measures one by one. First one being data mining. That refers to analysis which aims to discover evidence of problematic payments. Without that, it's very hard to trace potential fraud and identity thieves. And second one being educational activities and public communication to increase customer awareness of how to avoid and report fraudulent activities. Unfortunately, this is hard to implement as well due to the lack of infrastructure and low literacy rate in certain developing regions. And thirdly, developing countries lack the mechanism to report fraud. In developed countries, it's very easy to just fill out some online forms, but this is hard to find in certain developing regions. Now let's move on to talk about the evidence that support our argument. Firstly, stolen and forged identities used to create fake accounts is becoming a market itself in Latin America, and that sounds very scary. Second, developing countries contribute to 820 million bot-based attacks targeting e-commerce sites worldwide in just 2019. And now let's move on to the next piece of evidence. Attacks on mobile account creations, meanwhile, has risen by 150% in 2018's first quarter compared to the same period in 2017. That means this problem is increasingly worse. A study shows that half of the mobile apps, in this case 46, being analyzed from developing countries were found to improperly encrypt their communications and thus potentially allowing an attacker to steal money. Public education campaign about cybersecurity is definitely needed in developing countries, but as I mentioned before, many of those countries affected by this issue lack of infrastructure and literacy rate to facilitate such a campaign.
Hi guys, I'm going to talk about the next aspect of the topic, which is how spreading fake news in developing countries can harm the local society. Well, this basically means that there is a group or an individual out there that's posting rumors and lies with no actual evidence on different forms of social media. This can cause negative impact towards the community. One thing to point out is that this is also very common in developed countries, a country like Canada. Myanmar is a small country in Southeast Asia. Apparently, some military personnel in the country just don't like an ethnic group of people in the country. So they started posting fake news on Facebook saying that this group is doing all sorts of crime in the country. They're doing bad things to the community and they should leave. In a developing country like Myanmar, Facebook is pretty much their internet. Many people believe that Facebook is the authority and everything posted on Facebook is true. So as soon as the public saw these fake news, they started to react. They started to hate these group of people. And as a result, 700,000 people were forced to leave their country in just year 2018.
Another negative impact of information technology in developing countries is cyberbullying. The lack of awareness and regulations, they make cyberbullying easier in developing countries. Cyberbullying makes young people twice as likely to self-harm or even attempt suicide. This is an issue because in developing countries, unlike the developed countries, they lack suicide prevention aid. Due to outdated and lacking accountability regulations, the epidemic of cyberbullying continues to grow as the technology advances. Furthermore, easy access to social media around the world has increased the footprint of the bullies. According to a new report from UNICEF, 70% of kids in Malaysia have been harassed online, and 1/4 have been bullied. Malaysia is a developing country. In comparison to United States, which is a developed country, 1/3 of kids report having been bullied online, and 15% say they have been. In summary, the video discussed the following. Information technology in developing countries can impact the operations of the government systems in entirety through fake news. It can leave millions of people lacking awareness, vulnerable to identity theft, as well as scamming. It also provides a consequence-free and accountability-free platform to bullies, resulting in adverse consequences such as extreme depression and even suicides.